Welcome to the May 7th, 2025 edition of the CHNGE Talk podcast, where we engage community, elevate the conversation, and work toward real solutions. Last week, we were honored to hear from Chief McCormick, who laid out his vision for the CHNGE initiative. He offered a powerful historical perspective on community policing in Pelham and Mitchell County. And he described how a proactive, prevention-based approach has shaped the department's identity for the last few decades. Today, we continue that conversation with two of the most committed law enforcement leaders that I know. That's Assistant Chief Rod Williams, with over 30 years of experience in the field, having been Assistant Chief for the City of Pelham since 2015. He serves as Chief McCormick's Chief of Staff. And then we also have Adam Lamb, who is the CHNGE Crime Suppression Lead and the Public Engagement Officer for the CHNGE Initiative. Together, they will help operationalize the vision, the strategy, and logistics behind the CHNGE law enforcement efforts. Before we dive in, let's reflect on what current peer-reviewed research and state policy guidance tells us. In 2021, by Olate and others, it was noted that youth gang involvement is often linked to trauma, housing instability, and school detachment. According to the National Gang Center in 2022, youth are most at risk when they lack productive, proactive adults, after-school structure, and access to mental health support. In 2015, the Council on Criminal Justice Reform for Georgia emphasized the importance of pathways to desistance. And desistance simply means that for youth to get out of the delinquent process, highlighting job training, mentorship, and early intervention as critical factors for disrupting the school-to-prison pipeline. And when we look at the evidence-based context, according to Georgia Pathways to Desistance study, listen to this: 10% of families accounted for over 50% of criminal activity in the state between 1970 and 2015. This highlights the generational nature of crime and the importance of early intervention. From 2011 to 2015, the Georgia Criminal Justice Reform Council reports emphasized a shift to evidence-based practices. That means practices that are proven by research to change, which guides the formation of the CHNGE initiative. Perhaps the most compelling data is that it was published by the National Institute of Justice. Approximately 6 to 8% of individuals are responsible for over 50% of violent crime in the United States. This is known as the power of few principle, reinforcing the importance of targeted, trauma-informed responses and early intervention in high-risk youth populations. These insights guide the CHNGE work in Mitchell County. We know what happens down the road if we don't do anything now. Helping us identify risks, build resistance, and reinforce safety across schools and neighborhoods and families is our ultimate goal, with the support of our law enforcement leadership. Today we're going to talk with Assistant Chief Rod Williams, who I introduced earlier, and Captain Adam Lamb, who is regular on this podcast. We're going to ask them a few questions. We're going to ask them to be very candid with us and transparent about their feelings about certain things. So first, we'll talk to you, Assistant Chief Williams. Research and state policy underscore that early disconnection, school dropout, trauma, and instability fuels vulnerability to gang affiliation. How does CHNGE law enforcement strategies help create a space for connection and belonging?
Well, the CHNGE program, Dr. Jones, addresses most of the issues that you just described with the statistics and the research that's been done. And what CHNGE does is gives children a place to go, a safe space where they can interact with adults that are positive influences, and law enforcement, not just members of the community, but law enforcement actually as well, so they can get a positive view of law enforcement other than just seeing law enforcement when they show up when something bad happens. Law enforcement is a huge part of fixing this problem. We didn't create it. Nobody particularly created it. It's been over time. Like you mentioned, I've been here for over 30 years, and I've seen over time the statistics that you just quoted that are from statewide, probably nationwide. I've seen the microcosm of that right here in Pelham, and I see it today where the people that were the issues and that were committing the bulk of the crime 30 years ago, now we're dealing with their children and their children's children. And what you said bears out as far as the evidence that I see. And what we're looking to do is get in there and disrupt that problem, disrupt that cycle or that chain, and start introducing some positive influence in these children's lives so we can make a difference in the child's life, the community, and that family, where that family is no longer going to be considered a crime family or a family that's associated with their accomplishments being minimal or they're going to prison and that's a way of life. We want to change that. And that's what we're here for. That's why we're proud to be partners with the CHNGE program, because we feel like law enforcement has a big role in that. And it's not to simply respond and lock people up. It's to get in before the problems start occurring and start to help them mold the younger children to where we can break this cycle.
Okay, thank you for that. Captain Lamb, the Georgia Reform Council identified family engagement and targeted mentorship as a pathway to desistance. How do you see these playing out locally, and what are you learning from the CHNGE youth and families that you have been engaging?
Well, one thing that we're seeing is kids that we were seeing that were in troubled situations or in troubled environments. We're now seeing them come into the CHNGE program, to the REC, to 7 Habits, to the tutoring programs, and we're getting to see them away from these issues, and they're totally different people. These are good kids, and we just need to be able to assert ourselves more in their lives so that we don't have a gang issue with them later. So we've seen some good kids come through.
Okay, excellent. Assistant Chief Williams, back to you. As Chief of Staff and Logistics Coordinator for the program and for Chief McCormick, how are you helping the department synchronize its efforts across family events, walkthroughs, mentoring events, and with our education partners?
At the basic, making sure that it's staffed, making sure that when events are occurring, we have staff that are there to give a presence of law enforcement. Actually, even myself and Chief McCormick coming to some of the events and making sure that not only do we have our staff interacting with the program, but we're also actively involved in the program and actually getting engaged with the community and the children.
Thank you. Captain Lamb, back to you. What are some of the real signs that a youth is heading toward gang involvement? And what's the earliest that we should intervene?
Well, to talk about that, we have to talk about one thing that we used to look at all the time, and it's just not really there anymore. We used to say, pay attention to what how your child is dressing. The whole gang colors being flown all the time has kind of went by the wayside because they've learned that we're paying attention to that kind of thing. So my big thing is you need to pay attention to who your child is hanging out with, where they're hanging out, and at what times are they hanging out. If you are a working parent or parents and you come home and your child is not home but it's 8 o'clock, you need to be questioning where the child is. And questioning who they're hanging out. You should always know who your children are hanging out with. And really pay attention to that because that's going to be a key indicator. And as far as the earliest we should intervene, I think that we should be there from the beginning. And not so much, we should always intervene, but I feel like we should be there from the beginning when the problem starts so we can correct that behavior when we see it. And not so much as an afterthought of, oh, this has been going on for a week, we better start paying attention to it. We should be there from the get-go.
So you're saying we should be proactive versus reactive?
Yes, you should be very much proactive in this situation.
Okay. Now this question is for both of you. And I'll ask you, Assistant Chief Williams, to answer first, and then Captain Lamb, you answer following him. Seeing gang violence as just a crime issue to seeing it as a public health issue, especially in rural communities, I think is important. You want to speak about that at some point?
Yes, it's easy to associate and see the gang activity, youth violence activity is obviously a hazard to health in the manner of assaults and weapons and things of that nature. But on a deeper level, it's a public health risk, because along with the gang activity, the violence, comes stress issues for not only the people involved in the gangs, but more so the public, the citizens. If you're living in an area where it's plagued with gunshots, shootings, violence, assaults, you don't think about what that does to that person's stress level on a day-to-day basis, and they probably don't even realize it. But just that stress level would increase things. I'm no medical expert, but you know, the statistics that we hear about stress being related to different diseases, heart disease, even cancers, those things are things that can come along with the unchecked problem of youth violence and gangs to people that aren't involved in the gangs per se, but they're in the community also, as far as the public health issue as well as mental health. It can have a drastic effect on the mental health of the youth, as well as the public that has to live around and endure the chaos that is somewhat permeates the situation when you have violence and you have gang activity.
And just to kick off with what Assistant Chief Williams said, when we have that kind of issue, along with this mental health that he's speaking about, we have drug issues. We have just the trauma of a drive-by shooting that could result in the loss of a life. And you have that trauma that's set in. A lot of people may not know this, but we need to bring it up more often, that Pelham Police Department does have a co-responder that deals with mental health. And it doesn't cost anything. If you need to speak with her, she's not even an employee of the police department. We just work along with her. And so she's able to come out and talk to people. So there's a mental health aspect as well that could be a big problem, like Assistant Chief Williams said, along with drugs, the randomness of gang violence, and just the other stuff that comes along with the gangs themselves.
Right. And Assistant Chief Williams, just to piggyback a little bit, I want to piggyback a little bit also. What you talk about is essentially trauma, whether it's vicarious trauma just by observing, or whether it's direct trauma that happens to you. So those are some things that are at the core of public health issues, and like you said, high blood pressure and things like that. All right, so Assistant Chief Williams, this is for you. You know, you talked about the issues and the violence issues, and a lot of times people think that, you know, gang problems is in big cities. It's hard for us sometimes to wrap our mind around that. What are the risks in us having that misconception, and how does it impact our rural readiness?
I think one of the big risks is something that we're seeing now over the years, over the decades. I've heard people, look, when I first got into law enforcement, we would have groups of people that were doing criminal activity. You didn't hear about, in smaller areas, the organized gang activity, so to speak, like what you think of gangs nowadays, Crips, Bloods, things like that. But you did have people that were in association with each other, like we talked about before, that, you know, when they lack those associations in other places, they seek them out in negative ways a lot of times, and they were committing crimes. And when we, you know, started seeing that and addressing it, people didn't want to believe that we have gang activity in a small rural town. And it's not just Pelham, it's, you know, I've talked to law enforcement officers all around the region, the same thing. And they would transition and say, well, we have wannabe gang members. We don't have real gang members. That's in a larger city, we have wannabe gang members. The thing of it is, if you've got people that want to be a gang member, that they will do things to be considered a gang member that is just as dangerous as if it were an organized larger gang from a larger city. This was back then. And it really wasn't recognized and realized, and a lot of effort given into the intervention, and we're seeing the result of that now, where we do have more organized gangs now with the introduction of the internet, with social media, travel even, people coming in from different areas. We're seeing the larger gangs and all the crime that goes along with it in the smaller towns such as Pelham and the surrounding area. And it is no longer a wannabe situation. Even when it was a wannabe situation, it was very dangerous, because if they want to be and they're committing the same crime, are they really not still a gang? Yes, they were still a gang, but now we're coming, and it's being more understood statewide. Even the governor has said that it was I think the word was a crisis, an epidemic that the state has with gangs. Before that kind of mentality, it was hard for us in law enforcement to tell them what was going on, but now people are seeing it, that it is a crisis and an epidemic.
So, okay.
Yes.
So in that, you basically talking about us really recognizing that and accepting the fact. And so I'll turn to you, Captain Lamb. When we talk about that, we talk about transparency, in this podcast and what we're trying to do with this podcast. How does this podcast play a role in us enhancing the public trust in law enforcement?
Well, I think it shows to the public that us as law enforcement and our educators, our education partners, yourself, and the other people we have involved in this, that we see the issue and we're addressing it. And this is letting them see with the interviews that we do with Chief McCormick, Assistant Chief Williams, and other people that we'll be doing interviews with, that we're addressing it. We see it, and we're trying to make a difference.
Okay, and so this is it. This is what I'll say now is that this is to both of you. I think that one thing we see is the disengagement of our youth. They don't really, they want to do what they want to do. They're not concerned about things that are positive. To both of you, I want to ask you first, Assistant Chief Williams, and then you, Captain Lamb. To both of you, what are you preparing for as we enter these summer months? And we know that that's when, the old saying goes, the idle mind is the devil's workshop. As the summer months are coming in, when school is out, and youth are at increased risk of disengagement from positive stuff to doing other things. What are your thoughts about that? I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Well, we're actively seeking opportunities to interact and engage the children. The CHNGE program is probably the best vehicle we have for that right now. And getting the word out to the parents and the youth about the different programs that the CHNGE has available to them, that it's free of charge, and getting these kids involved so they will stay connected in a positive fashion, as opposed to getting sidetracked and getting into negative behaviors over the summer months. I tell you, I saw this week, a couple of days ago, I went to the elementary school along with several other community members to participate in what they call Adulting Day at the elementary school. And I saw something that was just, it really made you think, and it really made you understand why we're here. And I had the opportunity to instruct the kindergarten classes. And you're talking 6-year-old, roughly, children. And these precious children, these precious babies coming up to you, and it was just a simple teaching them how to introduce themselves and to shake hands and to engage with people. And I thought this is what it's all about right here, engaging with these children and giving them the skills that they're going to need throughout their life, because just that simple little skill is something that they're going to carry throughout their life. And like I was telling them, every person that they meet is gonna start with that introduction. And we need more opportunities like that with the children, to engage with them, to be that role model, to show them how to conduct themselves and how to engage with people. Because if we start young like that and we continue building upon that, then when they get to those more vulnerable years, we have more of an influence over them. So just what we did the other day, or what I did the other day with the let's say 6-year-old children, if that's not followed up on and not expounded upon and not reinforced, that's soon going to go by the wayside with these children. But if there's things where they're constantly being exposed to positive behavior and positive reinforcement, I think we'll be the most successful. And that's what I would like to see. Answer to your question, that's what I would like to see with the upcoming summer months, as we just continue with what CHNGE has already started as far as putting that positive influence in these children at different stages of their childhood and their life, just being there.
You got anything else?
Yeah, I think we need to concentrate on our patrols, our officer engagement with the kids during the summer, be in the area, just let them see us. And I think we really need to be pushing that the kids keep coming to the rec programs, and we really need to get some more kids into our tutoring programs and the summer programs that they're fixing to get started, that the CHNGE program partners have been starting to kind of put out there. We really need to push that and get some more kids into it so they have a better outlet than just hanging out doing nothing.
Okay. Well, thanks to both of you, and I want to give you an opportunity to appeal to the people who may be watching. We'll let you go first, Assistant Chief Williams, and then you, Captain Lamb. You go first and just kind of tell them what you want them to know.
Well, what I would like you to know is that we're here for the community, and we're here to help, and we really are passionate about the CHNGE program and other initiatives that we have with the youth. And I would just implore you to become involved. I'm sure we're always needing volunteers for different things to help with the children. You become involved on that level, or just become involved as far as making sure children are participating, your children. That's what we're here for. This is to augment the family, not try to take the place of the family. We're here to assist the family and to augment the family and to help the youth of today have a brighter tomorrow.
I would like to start off by saying, I mentioned that we have these other programs coming. I would really love to see more kids get into the tutoring process that we have going on. I have had the opportunity to interview some kids lately on criminal matters and non-criminal matters, and we really need to get these kids into some of our tutoring programs to help better them on later in life. Also, just what I say every week, see something, say something. Our numbers are going to be on the videos always. Trust me, if you call me, myself, Chief McCormick, Assistant Chief Williams, we will listen and we'll try to help you out any way we can. Whether it be a criminal matter, a gang matter, drug matter, mental health matter, we have resources to deal with that. And I would just really like to see people to push their kids to come to more CHNGE program events that we're going to have this summer.
Thank you to both of you. Now, as the summer approaches, we know that the CDC says that as far as violence prevention data, it shows that in 2024, it showed that structured summer engagement can reduce youth risk by 35%. That's why the CHNGE will be leaning into our summer enrichment program, youth mentorship programs. Community visibility is important for us. Assistant Chief Williams and Captain Lamb remind us that our job is not just to police, but to prevent, educate, and walk with community toward a lasting change. Thanks to both of you, and thanks to CEO Rhonda Brown, South Georgia Productions, and we appreciate her for her support of this initiative. And we look forward to hearing from you. Just, if you have questions that you want us to talk about, you have things that you want us to address, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you for everything. You have a great day.